Welcome to Plans Are Booked, a podcast for every reader. I'm Molly Geller.
I'm Stephanie Blackburn.
And I'm Caitlin Madison. Welcome to episode 128. 128. That feels like these numbers are just really cruising. All three of us are together. This is exciting. It's a Friday night. It's the last day of July. Can't believe it. Cannot believe it at all. I am enjoying the nights getting a little cooler. It's nice in the morning when I walk my dog. And the other day, I was like, I'm kind of looking forward to fall. Who am I? I don't know.
Please don't say that again.
It's
That's like
because
Beetlejuice.
it's because I don't teach anymore. Like I really do love the fall. And August used to be one big Sunday. I used to have such anxiety. Like I'd be sleeping terribly. Like August was the worst month. And now I'm like, bring it on, whatever. Like it's just like it's so nice. And then we roll into like some cooler weather. And I will say it's been a rainy week, so the sun was welcome today. I've had the week off from work. The office is just always closed the last week of July, and I was at Newport Folk Fest earlier this week. It was awesome. The weather was 78 degrees all 3 days and sun all 3 days. It was majestic. This was my 8th Newport Folk Fest. I've never had weather like that any year. It's usually like 88. It's usually no breeze, even though you're on the ocean. Like one year we had a day that it rained. It's just, there's always like a little something going on. But yeah, this year, Brandy Carlisle was definitely like a standout. There were a couple new artists that I really liked. Evan Honer was awesome. Medium Build was awesome. Dave Matthews got brought out as like a surprise guest, which I've never been that close. I've gone to Dave Matthews probably 5 or 6 times. I've never been that close to Dave Matthews because it's a small venue and I didn't know he was coming out. So I was just I was along for the ride, really, is what it amounts to. I ate my weight in lobster rolls. I did a little shopping because there was one day that there wasn't really anybody that I wanted to see until like 2:30, 3 o'clock in the afternoon, which like never happens. It's always like I have 2 people at noon and then I've got like a wait until 4. The gods just blessed me and I was able to go in late one of the days. So then I got to go downtown and do a little shopping and like eat a normal person lunch, not out of a food truck. That was really like had a Bloody Mary, watched a little Red Sox baseball, meandered my way to the fort. Like it was just majestic. The rest of the week, the weather didn't totally cooperate. I went to Maine. My dog didn't totally cooperate on that trip. He escaped a couple of times through like under a fence that I'm like jingling the snacks. He showed up at the front door every time that it happened. So like at least I know that. At least I learned that. But this house that we were staying at was on a river with like a dock and it also had a pool. So I'm like, this is like really not a great place for you to take off. So that was a little stressful. My parents were here for a day because they had a bunch of appointments. So I got to hang out with them a little bit. It's just been kind of like a smorgasbord of like all sorts of different comings and goings. And I'm psyched because I'm going to see Spider-Man this weekend. So that'll be really fun. Yeah. So that's basically what I've been up to. What have you guys been up to?
I am fresh off of 4 days in New York City. I actually was trying to think about when the last time I was there. And I think it was actually this same event last summer. I couldn't think of, because I was remembering when we went for Caitlin's birthday, I think that was March 2025, right? So anyway, it's been a year, which seems crazy as someone who used to go to New York City like every 6 weeks, either socially or for work. And it was great to be back. I will say, those who have ever spent time in Manhattan in July and August, it smells like hot trash every minute of every day. So once you get past that,
Not
and
even
like
trash, like piss.
everything, it's like
Yeah.
every gross smell feels like it's being heated in the microwave, and then
Mhm.
that's what you're walking through.
Mhm.
That said, I had some really excellent meals. And I also got to go to this cool place called Madame George's, which is sort of outside of Times Square near where all of the Broadway theaters are. And most nights they have people singing like well-known Broadway show tunes. But we happen to go on Monday night, which they do something special called Broadway Night Off, where Broadway singers who are not working come and do basically an open mic. So this woman who is in Hadestown came and sang Whitney Houston, I Want to Dance with Somebody. One of the guys from Hamilton sang Free Fallin'. It was like amazing. And their shorthand of their logo is MG, Madam George, which is also my initials. The way I wanted to steal every single branded thing from there, I cannot tell you. But the only thing that was
you had.
The only thing that was at our table that had it stamped was this leather bound, really fancy cocktail menu. And I was like, I'm not. Listeners, I used to swipe pint glasses from bars regularly. I'm not ashamed of it. I have a great collection. It was a period of my life. This was not the right thing to try to come home. And I also thought maybe it'll be on like a cocktail napkin. No. Maybe it'll be on a coaster. No. Anyway, I can't wait to go again. It was such an amazing time. It was one of those things that felt like it could only occur in New York City.
I'm imagining when Bradley Cooper stumbles upon Lady Gaga in A Star Is Born, like when she's singing Livy on Road. Like that's what I'm. Yeah,
it's in a basement, so you come in on the ground level and you walk down.
Of course it is.
Yes, and they have like amazing lighting and very like, velvet banquettes and like big round chairs, and they serve their appetizers on like tiered like tea service. I don't know what you call those. You know what I'm talking about. The tower of delicious food. That was amazing. And then I did 3 days with my clients and I did some presentations. I did some one-on-one meetings. It was super rewarding. And then I came home the best way to travel between New York and Boston, the quiet car on Amtrak.
It's the best. You can nap, you can read, you can do whatever you want.
The girl who was sitting next to me, she was seated first, and I asked her if it was okay to sit next to her. This woman, I don't think she could have been older than 27 or 28. The most prepared train traveler I have ever seen. She had her fully charged Kindle. She had a Diet Coke that was in like a freezer bag, like on ice. Diet Coke. And then she had made herself in like a little bento box Tupperware her dinner in 3 separate compartments. She was just like very prepared to enjoy herself, to relax. It was, I was like, teach me your ways. I had like bags falling out of bags. I had cords everywhere. The like Magnolia Bakery stuff I bought for myself kept flopping out of the bag. I was like, it's time for me to go home. I just was in like Sherpa mode by the end. And I will say the nice thing about a lot of these client events is they often want to give you branded swag because they want you to represent when you're out and about in your real life. So I had a tote bag that I did not arrive with that was full of many of these items, which is part of why I felt so discombobulated. But it was a great time. And the thing about New York, I feel definitely I could not live there. It is so fun to visit. It is fun to be in a place that is so diverse and where so many different languages are being spoken and where the fashion is amazing, where the food is incredible, where things are open past 9 p.m. Looking at you, Watertown, Massachusetts. It is just a different feeling. It's very electric to be at a place where things are open all the time and people are always outside and people are always on stoops. And it was just cool to have that reminder, especially after a full year of not being there. And I was also very ready to come home.
Did I send you guys that screenshot of the tweet that listed like 15 major events that were happening in New York City simultaneously? Did I send this to you? Okay, I'm going to try and find it because there was like, this was like a week or two ago. I can't even begin to tell you how many things were going on, but I sent it to a couple people and I was like, Boston would simply just sink into the sea if all of these things happened. Like we could barely handle the World Cup and anything else occurring. I'm going to see if I can find it. But Steph, what is your news?
Oh, it's not news. It's bookstore drama.
Oh, I love drama.
So yesterday there was a customer who came in who was looking for some new books, and my coworker Amy and I kind of converged at the same time upon this person because I was headed in one direction, she was headed similarly, and so we're trying to figure out what she would like. We kept suggesting things, and she was like, "No, that sounds a little too dark and blah, blah, blah. And then the way she happened to be standing, she saw our end cap of Valley of the Moms by Hannah Selinger. Do you either of you know any of the drama that's been going on with this book?
I don't.
No.
She had an event when the book came out, and I saw her post where she talked about two women coming in who were not ticketed for the event, who were disruptful. And
I think I have heard about this, but I didn't know
maybe I
what the
sent it
book
to you
was.
guys.
I
Okay,
think you
so
did send it to us.
this is the book in case you see it. So this woman, she sees the book as we're suggesting, like, what about this book? What about this book? And she goes, oh, that book. And I was like, listen, I like mess and I will stir the pot just for the fun of it. So I'm like, what about that book? And she probably was in her 50s, maybe early 60s. And she goes, I'm from that town and I'm on the PTA. And I go, oh, wait, is it based on a true story? Because I just wanted to like stir up some shit. She goes, oh my God, it is. And if you met the head of the PTA, you would know she's the sweetest woman in the world. That author is crazy. Well, guess what? You've just sold me on that book. And then later, another woman came in. She and I immediately became best friends. And I was like, what about this book? What about this book? She'd already read Into the Blue. She'd already read Broken Country. I'm going through like my list of go-tos. She'd already read all of them. So I turned to Shampoo Effect. I'm like, I've heard good things about this one. I haven't read it myself, but I know someone who has. I think this would be really great. She picks that up. Then we pivot and I go, I got to tell you something. How do you feel about like local drama? And she was like, tell me more. And I go, this woman who was such a Karen came in earlier and basically disclosed that this is based on a true story, even though it's called fiction. She was like, oh my God, give me one of those.
When your store's numbers come in, like at the end of August, that they're like, wow, you guys really went hard on Valley of the Moms.
That's pretty great.
Yeah.
Pretty great.
I love that.
Have you read The Shampoo Effect? I've heard good
I
things
haven't.
about that.
Not
She
yet.
wrote another book called Pineapple.
Pineapple Street. I have it actually in my TBR. I've had it.
You didn't
for
read it.
3
Okay.
years in
I
my
was just,
TBR.
yeah, I was just wondering if you had read that one maybe. Okay. Got it.
Yeah. Erica gave that one to me when we left Jackson, July 2023, and it has remained in my TBR.
Here lies Pineapple Street since July.
Wow. Okay.
Just so the listeners know how
Alright.
deep my TBR is.
Yeah. I just want the listeners to know that like I put together a list the other day and took a photo of it and sent it to Molly and Steph and was like, so here's like a bunch of books that I own. What should I like? What do you want to read? Like, I need some guidance on like what to push to the top right now because I am overwhelmed by my own TBR right now.
I feel
And
like we should do another roundup for Instagram. Remember when we did a picture of like our TBRs way back when? Probably 2 years ago.
Yeah.
mine's embarrassing.
Caitlin, you're there's no way that
I
you're as bad as
bought
I
an
am.
I bought an additional bookshelf that's in my bedroom just for TBR.
All right, well, let's take a picture.
It's
Or
not
count.
it's not good. I can do both. I can do both of those things, but it's not pretty. It's probably the worst it's ever been. Brad was here yesterday, the day before. I'm losing track of days because I haven't been going to work. He was here a day this week and he was in my library looking to see if there's anything that he wanted to take. And he was like, this room isn't even like functional. And I was like, what are you talking about? And he's like, there's a desk in here, but then there's just books everywhere and Legos. And I was like, I mean, what functionality does it need to have? Like, I don't need to do anything in there. And he was like, but it's such a nice room. I'm like, yeah, it's still a nice room. I was like, when there were I was like, when there were less books in there, I wasn't like in there crocheting or something. Like, I don't know what he thinks I need to do in there. But anyway, I digress. Do we want to get into our book this week?
Let's do it.
You ready? Okay. We read a great book. I don't know what the actual definition of a novella is. I don't know if there's like a page number for that, but I would call this book a novella because it's like 160 pages. It's called We Burned So Bright by TJ Klune. I had heard of TJ Klune before because he wrote The Cerulean Sea, whatever that book's called. I think I just butchered the name of it.
I think it's the House of the
The
Cerulean
House
Sea.
of the Cerulean Sea. And I have had multiple people tell me to read that book, and I just haven't because it didn't really sound like it was my style, even though like people have raved about it. So this is actually my first TJ Klune book that I've actually picked up and read.
It does qualify as a novella because it roughly 70 to 160 pages.
Okay, so it's a novella, people. This, I think it's our first novella that we're talking about. If I might be wrong, but where do I start with this book? This book is about the world ending. Everyone knows that they're on borrowed time, that there's like a meteor and other space related things that are going to just take literally the earth out. It's not that it's going to decimate one part of the earth, like a certain country or whatever.
It's a
It's going
black
to
hole.
take, it's going to, thank you. It's going to take out people, animals,
The planet.
farmlands, the planet. It's just not going to exist anymore. And so everyone is reacting in different ways. And we are following a couple named Rodney and Dawn, and they have been married for 40 years. And they have some unfinished business that the reader is not clued into until the book progresses. Like you get clues throughout the book as to what they're doing. And this unfinished business means that they need to get into their RV and drive from Maine to Washington state. And you don't really know like if they're going to see somebody in particular or deliver something or do something. You just know that they're fulfilling a promise and that they need to get it done, and they've got a tight timeline because the earth is going to cease to exist. And you are on this road trip with them where they meet all sorts of interesting characters, and they interact with people that they probably wouldn't see on a regular basis. And they're kind of letting it all out. They're kind of living free because they're like, what do we have to lose? And you see all the different ways that people are reacting to this end that's coming. And some people are really blissful about it, and some people are really angry about it, and some people are in denial about it. And it's all packed into this short 160 page book. And I was just so impressed by how much storytelling occurs in this book, despite how short it is. And I want more novellas. Like, I left that book being like, I need more books like this because it really showed what you can do in a small amount of time, and that you can introduce a lot of characters and like still pull it off and have very eloquent writing that pulls you in and is emotional and worthwhile and makes you contemplate a lot of things. And I really enjoyed this book, and I'm going to let you guys gab about it a little bit, and then I'm going to share some excerpts that I really liked from it.
This is a book that I would never have picked up on my own. I've talked about this a lot here on the pod, but I mostly read romance because, to be blunt, life is hard enough. And I don't love reading about upsetting end of the world scenarios. It's just like reading for me is escapism, and that's not what I want to escape into. So I knew that Caitlin had loved this and knows my reading taste and wouldn't have said like you've got to do this if she didn't think I would find something redeeming about it. I think it is a very contemplative book. It's sort of hard not to imagine yourself in the scenario and what would be important to you, or and who would you want to spend more time with, and what might your reaction be? Would it be anxiety? Would it be fear? Would it be to remove yourself from the situation? And I don't want to give anything away, but there's a moment where Dawn and Rodney encounter someone on their way, And this woman is talking about how it's just been impossible for her to watch other people suffering. And it's really been kind of taking over her mind. And I just want to read you this one short paragraph. So she says, I don't want you to suffer. And Rodney says, suffering is life. It's part and parcel of living. It never really goes away, but you can become bigger around it, stronger. The things you thought you weren't capable of are easier than you think. I have found, we're all in our 40s, that this decade has been one of the most challenging in terms of just the things that are happening around us. Parents are aging, people are losing people in their lives, people are changing careers. There's just a lot going on. And I think, I'll just speak for myself, I've become so much more resilient as a result of having to go through all of those things. And when I read that paragraph, I was like, wow, if that isn't the most like beautiful, succinct way to say you just get bigger around it. Like that's a beautiful take on.
That'd be a really good tattoo, actually.
I was thinking that actually because we all know many people get book inspired tattoos. I thought that was really interesting. The two other things I wanted to share were actually from the acknowledgments. This was my first TJ Klune book, and I felt like I learned a lot about his personality from reading the things at the end. So first, more thanks go to Lynn, Amy, and Mia, my beta readers. They've been the initial editors for my books for a good while now and know when to call me on my bullshit. For example, the original last section of We Burn So Bright initially had way more gravity hijinks, and all of them were like, no, not like that. So I changed it to no gravity hijinks at all. And then my editor wanted some gravity hijinks, so I proudly showed her the original version, thinking, ha, take that, beta readers. And then my editor said, no, not like that. And I was like, oh, shoot. We were able to find a happy medium for it. So to my beta readers, take that, kind of. And also thank you for doing what you do, even when you demand no gravity hijinks. I just felt like you could really hear his voice. And then the final paragraph says, lastly, to you, the reader, thank you for continuing to support my work wherever my weird brain takes me. I promise the next book won't punch your feelings quite as hard. Or maybe it will because I'm just that kind of author. My bad.
In regards to the acknowledgments, I think, Molly, I had said to you, don't read this halfway through because
yes,
it
you
ruined
did. You warned
for
me.
Yeah, I don't know why I did it because I don't often read the acknowledgments, but I think I was only a third of the way through when I read it, and it gives away the ending of the book essentially. And I would never have naturally come to that in my like detective work while reading, so that kind of ruined for me. I mean, not ruined, but it completely changed my experience of reading the book as opposed to like naturally coming to the ending without knowing where we were headed. I think for me, the writing obviously was phenomenal, but I liked it because it really made me think about what I would do in this situation, which I was telling one of my coworkers. I was like, you have to read this book. And she said, I thought it was about the end of the world. And I was like, it is, but it really makes you think about like, what would you do if you found out there's only 1 week left and then the world is going to be no more? What are you going to do? Are you going to have a party in a field, or are you going to do something violent and bad, or are you going to like maybe complete a loop that you've been putting off finishing for a really long time? And I think that's why I had like an emotional reaction at the end, because I was sort of like placing myself and my family, and because in our God, I was 14 when Armageddon and Deep Impact came out in the same year. And for a long time, that was when I was very into space and astronomy and made my parents buy me a super expensive telescope because, you know, it could happen. We are just a tiny, tiny little nothing in this unknown universe. And so I think that has always been something that I have contemplated. So I liked that Klune really made me like sit with it and be like, okay, what would I do? I mean, I know what I would do. The cats and I would get in the car, we'd go pick up George, and we'd drive 3 days to Wyoming. But you know,
I still don't know what I would do, I don't think. Like, I really, like, thought about it, and I was like, I'm not
Where
sure.
would you want to be seated when it happened? I'd want to be facing the Tetons.
It's not really
Goodbye.
for me where, it's who with. And I think that if I could get all my people in one spot, I'm not sure I would care that much about the actual spot.
Hmm.
But I might change my mind about that. I don't know. I was having a hard time putting my finger on what I would do. But there were two parts that really resonated with me that I wanted to share. The first one is just 43 pages into the book, and it's about the curiosity of what's beyond. And they're starting to think about, like, are we going to come back? Are we going to be like in a different, stratosphere? Like, what's the deal? So Rodney says, "Do you think there will be music wherever we go when we're gone? Do you think we'll still be able to sing?" "I hope so," Don said. "Remember the Voyager?" Don nodded. "The satellite sent to space, the one with the gold record." "Actually, it was a space probe," Pantomime said. "A lot of people don't know that there are two versions of Voyager, the first and the second, and both held the gold record." "Do you know who made them?" "Carl Sagan and Timothy Ferris. On the records, they put photographs of the Earth, of the life forms on it, size comparisons of humans to animals, pictures of men in competition, pictures of gridlocked traffic, pictures of buildings, of mountains, of trees, a South Asian woman breastfeeding, a black woman looking through a microscope, thatched huts, people with spears, drawings of animals, math equations, pictures of astronauts, of the moon. But do you know what my favorite part is?" Don shook his head. "The sounds that they included. Music from all over the world. Suro no Sugimori from Japan. Bach performed by a German orchestra. Chuck Berry with Johnny B. Good. Stravinsky, Louis Armstrong, Beethoven, a Navajo night chant, and the noise of earth, too. Volcanoes and earthquakes, wind, rain, the crashing of ocean waves, the sounds of footsteps, of laughter, of a heartbeat, and the languages. They had people from all over the world record greetings in Burmese, in English, in Korean, in Polish, in Urdu. It was all pretty simple, an economy to the language. Peace and happiness to all, or we wish you everything good from our planet." I was so moved by that section because I feel like so often we are buried and inundated in the media with bullshit and murder and crooked politicians and terrible people. And we forget all of these beautiful things that only we have created, right? Only humans have created these languages and these sounds. And the idea of, like, owning a telescope and being able to look at things and inventions and all of this stuff. And it's like, I really don't want it to be the end of the world for us to start to think about all of the good things that we've done, which leads into the next section that really struck me, which is regretting taking things for granted. So this is page 58. "I don't want to miss things," Don said, "but I can feel it already, like an infection working its way through me. Apples. Apples. How stupid is that? I never gave apples a real thought in my life, and now all I can do is wonder why I didn't. And all I can do is think about apples. What else have I missed? What else wasn't right in front of me this entire time, but I just ignored it? Ignored it because I always assumed it was going to be there no matter what. But they're not, because there won't be anything left. If it was just humans going, I could accept that. I really think I could. It's always felt like we were living on borrowed time, not as individuals, but as a species. If it was just humans and the animals and plants were to live, I think I think I'd find peace in that, knowing that one day, far, far from now, something will find an apple on a tree and eat it." He sucked in a shaking breath, eyes burning. but it's not that. It's everything. No more apples. I don't think I need to say anything about that. It's so well written that like it speaks for itself. I did think the idea of thinking that humans were on borrowed time was very fascinating. And I think I agree with it a little bit. And I do think for whatever reason, maybe it's because like I've only been a dog parent for like a year, but like thinking about like humans falling off the face of the earth is like whatever, but if you're like and also dogs, that I'd be like no, that doesn't work for me. Like you're not taking the dogs. Leave the dogs alone. And I don't know why it's just one of those things, but yeah, those two parts of the book I was like TJ Klune can write. He knows what he's doing. And I feel like this would be such a cool, I know I've said this about a bunch of other books, but I feel like this would be such a cool summer read for high school kids. There's so much to unpack. There's so much you could talk about. You could bring it into a philosophy class, you could bring it into a sociology or a psychology class, English class, obviously. I just think that there's some really dynamic stuff going on here. And I feel like it's very timely for this like weird timeline that we're in right now where everything feels a little doomy and gloomy. Yeah, I don't know. And there's also, there later on in the book without giving anything away, there's also some mental health stuff like happening and there's like they're basically on a quest. Like this road trip is a quest of sorts. So that's kind of a cool thing that you can latch onto and analyze. I just really feel like I did not expect a 160-page book to pack the punch that this one did. And I definitely want to read some more of his books, but I have to say all of his books sound so different from one another. Like he is not adhering to one genre. His books are all different lengths. Some of
They're
them
actually all shelved in fantasy, though.
are they?
Mm-hmm.
Even this one?
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. Very interesting because they don't like just going through Goodreads and adding the ones that sounded cool. They didn't all sound like fantasy. A lot of them did, but not
I
all.
mean, maybe other stores shelve them differently. We shelve them all in fantasy.
Got it. Anyways, I want to read more of his books because the writing was A plus, honestly. Would somebody like to share what they're reading right now?
I can share one that I finished last week. By the time this episode airs, this will be out in hardcover. It's called The Wild Beneath by Kelly Anderson. I picked it up because the cover was striking, but also because I can't think of where it said it. Maybe it's on Goodreads that it says it. Someone had written that it is Wild Dark Shore meets Time Traveler's Wife, and
Ooh, good comps.
Time
I like
Traveler's
those.
Wife just destroyed me. So
That's beautiful.
yeah, it's just a really pretty cover. So let me think of how to talk about this. When we start the book, our main character, hold on, because I can't think of what her name is.
We all have, I feel like, character name blackout regularly.
God,
I
why
had
does
to
this
write
happen to me?
down Dawn and Rodney in my notebook so that I was ready for today because I finished that book like 2 or 3 weeks ago.
Okay. So her name is Annie. When we start off the book, I believe she is 20, maybe 20 or 21. She has lived her entire life on a sailboat with her parents. They harbor once a year at her grandmother's town where her father grew up, which is like kind of like Vancouver area, but like it's a remote island in the Vancouver area. Otherwise, they're like up and down the coast all year long, and then they stop there, sort of like replenish and whatever. So she's not like the most social girl. She's a little bit stunted because all of her experience has been with her parents at sea. But whenever she was home in the summertime, she befriended this boy there and they became like best friends. When they were little, he would come with them on the boat for the summer and then get dropped back off before school started. So they're now early 20s and a tsunami has just hit. And the island is like practically destroyed. She doesn't know where her parents are or if they survived. She and her grandmother are living in the house that has like water halfway up the walls. The town has like no electricity. Things are just constantly washing up. They're basically eating like whatever seafood they can find, and that's it. And a naked man washes onto the shore, but he's like not quite human. And I was sitting reading this on the beach with a friend, and I turned to her and I go, am I reading a story about a merman? Like, I'm not even sure what's happening here. Because, I went into this blind, so I don't really know what's going on, but he can't really say like what happened to him. He has no memory of it. He's just kind of like struggling to, they have to basically like heal him first. And then we get flashbacks of her childhood on the boat with her parents and find out why she lived a life completely on the boat as opposed to like going to like normal school. And the timelines do converge. It's beautifully written. I don't know what I expected, and I don't think it was exactly that, but I'm also okay with it. It just was like this, I don't want
It
to say
sounds
weird.
like an experience.
It was. And I think this book too made me think about like what would happen if I was somewhere and there was a tsunami and you like can't get a hold of your family. Like what
Sorry, I thought you were going to say, what would happen if I fell in love with a merman?
It's
I
the end
will
of the
say
week.
he's not actually a merman. but there was a moment there where I was like, is he a jellyfish? Is he a merman? What is happening here? um yeah, I don't know that I would. I mean, Wild Dark Shore, obviously, similarly, a person washes ashore in the middle of a storm. Um, Time Traveler's Wife is like a weird comparison to me because it doesn't quite fit the bill. But honestly, I don't know what I would compare this to. You know?
I think that's a compliment when it's hard to. That means it was
Yeah, I
so
mean, it's
singular that you
yes,
can't say it
yeah,
was exactly like this or it gave me this similar feeling or the setting was
yeah.
the same.
Well, because it also like, we get to see her through her teen years. So it also has that like coming of age and like falling in love and longing, but it's definitely not like YA or romance. Do you know what I mean? So, anyways, I'm gonna pass it on to you guys, see if you want to try it. It was very interesting.
Love that. I just finished, I'm going to hold it up, Lena Dunham's Fame Sick. This is actually Caitlin's book, which she hated and passed on to me. And I regret to
I
inform
didn't
you
I
that I
didn't
loved it.
I didn't hate it. It just didn't have a lot of new information, which is how I felt about Cameron Crowe's The Uncool. That was a good memoir. I didn't learn anything new because I'm a groupie for Almost Famous and Cameron Crowe. And so it wasn't a very enjoyable book for me because I was like, this is old news.
Okay. So
It's
I
well written. Lena's book is well written. I'm not going to say that it's not, but I just it wasn't for me.
I read her first memoir, and at the end of that book, I remember thinking, wow, she's had like a really tough medical history, mental health history. It made me all the more impressed by everything she had accomplished with girls and the way her career was going. This Famesick felt like everything she wanted to say in the earlier book, but maybe couldn't either because she wasn't established enough or she didn't feel old enough or she hadn't enough life experience. For people who are not hardcore Swifties like Caitlin, who were already aware of Taylor Swift, Jack Antonoff, Lena Dunham, I learned a ton of new information about the making of Girls, about what happened in her career after that, about various gossip things she was entangled in over the years. And I loved hearing about the casting process for Girls. And I just wanted to read one teensy weensy little bit here, which is about the role that plays opposite Hannah, the role that Lena Dunham inhabits. And she said, then there was the role of Adam. In my character description, I had written Taylor Kitsch vibes because a girl can dream. I imagined someone delicately pretty but all American who would make Hannah feel like she'd won the lotto just by touching him and therefore accept any form of bad behavior, from STD transmission to spanking, Nothing I wrote was quite as dark as the reality of what real life Adam and I had been into, so I was always shocked when people found it disturbing and surprising nonetheless. Given my demand for a Tim Riggins lookalike, when Adam Driver walked into the room, all ears and nose, gangly and pigeon toed, lurching toward the audition chair like a reanimated corpse in a silent film, I was confused. I tried to shake his hand and he only grunted. Just wait, Jen whispered, sensing my vague alarm. And then it goes on to talk about the actual improvisation that they did together. I love those moments, understanding what the hope and intention was, what actually wound up happening. I think anytime we get these behind the scenes, whether it's of reality TV shows or movies, it's always fascinating. And the other thing that just sucked me all the way in is she's been pretty vocal about her, how shall I describe this? Her health issues related to her reproductive system. She talks about that publicly. She's written about it ad nauseum. What I didn't realize is that she was diagnosed with am I saying that correctly?
Ehlers?
Yeah, I don't
Yes.
know.
Yes.
It's the same thing Rebecca Yarrow says.
Yeah, Ehlers syndrome.
Okay, so she has had a string of symptoms over her lifetime that she didn't realize were connected until she was much older. And she was so chronically ill and in such intense pain for so long that she was constantly pausing production on all of these projects and having to beg for forgiveness from producers and studio heads and her writing room. And I just didn't know that all those things were going on behind the scenes, and the depth at which she describes these things is much more than I thought we would get. And at the end, she talks about how writing is how she processes things, great things, bad things, hard things. And I would imagine that putting all of this into one place and saying, like, this is a testimony to everything that I have been through and survived probably felt amazing to her. And I was just impressed. I think it can't be easy to relive all these traumatic ER visits and ongoing doctor's appointments. And whatever your opinion is of her, I think if you read this, you will realize the things that you may have perceived as her being checked out or her seeming ungrateful or her not wanting to answer 25 million questions in line on a red carpet. There were times she thought she was going to pass out trying to walk to the end of the stairs at the Met Gala. Like, it just gave me a different take on her that I found really, really interesting. And I think the writing is excellent. If you liked the writing of Girls and you like that lens on things and sense of humor, you will like this. And I just couldn't put it down. I wanted to hear everything she had to say.
Yeah, and the name dropping, like, from early on in her career is crazy. Like, the people that she interacts with, it's like she somehow stumbled upon many, many people who were going to go on to have as much success as she did, and none of them had like two dimes to rub together. And that part was interesting to me because I feel like that doesn't happen that often, that like a group of creatives all takes off in like insane ways.
Totally.
So that was pretty cool. I like that we're all reading like really different books right now. So I'm reading The Open Era, which is written by Edward Schmidt, and I believe he's a first-time author. If you don't like tennis, I would say don't read this book. This is a very tennisy book. It's about two guys. It's really about one guy, and then he gets entangled with this other guy. So Austin is a 20-year-old tennis player who has just played in a challenger to qualify for the US Open, and it's his first Grand Slam tournament. He's dropped out of college to be a professional tennis player. You find out right away that his dad has passed away like in the last few years, and his dad's best friend, who was a very highly ranked professional tennis player, has taken on Austin pro bono in like memory of his dad. So Austin's like, we wouldn't be able to afford any of this, and like I haven't had like my breakout moment where I can like pay him a salary, and like here we are. And while he's at this tournament, he is befriended by the world number 2 player, Diego Cruz from Mexico, who is, he describes him as a brown-eyed, brown-skinned Marvel character who happens to play tennis. And he is infatuated with him. And Austin is the first openly gay male tennis player in a Grand Slam. And people keep saying, like, you're the first gay player, you're the first gay player. And he's like, no. He's like, we're at the Billie Jean King like stadium right now. Like, I don't know how we're overlooking this. So he's like really starting to gain momentum on socials because of some of the things that he's saying in the pressers. And then in the background, he is suffering from severe anxiety. He's had anxiety for most of his life. And he basically has an incident at one of the practice courts. And Diego kind of like comes to his rescue and they become like Mario Kart buddies. And so I'm at the point in the book now where I'm like, Austin is crushing hard on Diego. I can't tell if Diego is straight or not. And they keep hanging out and it seems romantic. And then Diego like blows him off and they don't talk for a couple days. And everything that's happening is like in the midst of Austin's biggest tournament of his whole life. It could totally change his entire career. And there's a ton of stuff about mental health. There's a lot of nitty gritty about tennis. It seems like there's a romantic thing going on, but like I can't totally tell. I thought I was reading a rom com. Like I thought this was a tennis rom com. Like the front of it says, more than rivals, more than a match. So I was like, okay, do we have like a little heated rivalry tennis situation going on? But like, it's a lot more than that in a great way. I've been very pleasantly surprised. It's fast paced. I've read like over 100 pages just today. I'm really enjoying it. And when I was looking at like the about the author, because I didn't know anything about him, it says, I just want to get this right because I've been known to get things wrong. He's based in New York City. He, from theater kid to graphic designer to creative director, he's always exploring new ways to tell stories. A passionate mental health advocate, he's worked in the nonprofit space for more than 7 years. The Open Era is his debut novel and combines 3 things close to his heart: queer love stories, mental health awareness, and the most beautiful sport in the world, tennis.
This is making me want to rewatch Challengers.
Right?
Oh, I was thinking Wimbledon.
Oh, better.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
I don't watch enough Paul Bettany. Like that should just be a bigger part of my life, I feel. That movie has to be how old, do you think?
25 years.
Yeah, at least. I had it on VHS. Or not
Well,
VHS.
who is it? Kiki Dunst is the lead in that one. So then 20 years because she's
and James
like our
McAvoy
age.
is his brother.
Mm,
He was like a nobody back then.
Right.
wild.
Oh my gosh.
Totally
Wow.
wild.
I know we were really across the board this week in our currently
I
reading.
loved it.
Listeners, if you want to see the list of titles we discussed, everything top to bottom, please join us on Instagram. We are at Plans Are Booked. We share every single title we mention for every episode. We would love, if you liked what you heard today, if you would consider leaving us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. It really helps people find the show. And by listener demand, we are also on YouTube. So you can watch us if you prefer that method, youtube.com/Plans Are Booked. And if you want to share any feedback about today's episode or anything else, please write to us at plansarebooked@gmail.com.
And until next time, our plans are booked.